Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, April 27th, 2017, and this is the Board of Selectmen meeting. First up tonight on our agenda is a public hearing on the application of Great Brook Farms, Inc. for an alteration of premises at 356 Main Street in Bolton, Massachusetts. The intent of the alteration is to serve alcohol on the exterior patio deck.
I have to recuse myself,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Bruce, come on down. How are you this evening?
Guys, I'm here.
Good, thank you.
Gals.
So what's up?
Well, this is the plan that I know, I think Linda was doing the application. Of the patio that we're constructing right now. Entrances would be in here, here, and here. This is a fence, tree line. There'll be a gate here, and trucks for tables, chairs, tents, and things like that will come in. When we have an event, there'll be a tent here, okay? And there's just a lower patio here. So basically, and this will be fenced in over here as well, so this will be the area that's going to be contained, because that's
Okay.
what the ABCC wants.
Okay.
And they're going to obviously come out and do an inspection as well.
Okay.
You know. I'm just trying to offer more to the community and
Sure.
be able to serve alcohol outside.
No. I mean, it looks fine. So the process is, Bruce comes in, we take a look at this. He then submits an application, or has he already done that?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You would need the approval of the local board first, and then it
Okay.
goes on to the
Okay.
ABCC.
No, I think, I mean, you've talked about this
Yeah.
for quite some time, and, I think,
We were talking about a building, but it's just, I think this is just, I could have it outdoors and you can see a tent. It just, I had plans for a building, a pavilion, it was all roof. So you just drive in and you just see it.
Yeah.
Roof, and it just didn't fit the atmosphere of the town.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So.
So the fence requirements, what's the
ABCC.
ABC? What, when they talk to you about a fence, what are their concerns? They don't want-
That's the I look at golf courses, and you've got golf carts driving around and bringing people drinks all over the place. And I don't know why it's the way it is, but they just, I guess folks that go out to the car and come back, I can assume that's.
Yeah, they want a barrier so that you have to exit the building the same way you came in.
Right.
So you wouldn't be able to leave by the fenced-in area.
Right.
And you couldn't easily at least hand a drink out
Exactly.
to someone that's on the other side of the fence.
A minor or anything else.
So this is going to be on the right side of the building,
West side, yeah.
and so it's a big lawn area,
Yeah.
and then below that's a patio.
Yeah.
And so you'll have servers coming out and serving.
Well, actually, we'll probably have
Drinks
a
on the
bar,
terrace.
a temporary bar.
Or is this
with
for
fence.
events only?
Mostly for events. Mostly for events.
Okay.
I mean, I think it looks fine. Yeah. I'm happy with it. I think it helps you, and, I think it's fine.
We just got all the rocks in today. These are really big landscape rocks, and these are all trees here.
Okay.
And these steps go down, and these stripes down here. It's gonna be sharp. It really is. I'm hoping to do some, town events there. I know we've got the common and stuff, but it'd be fun.
I'm good. Any other questions?
No.
Anything from the audience? Okay, well then, having no other further discussion, I'll take a motion to approve the application of Great Brook Farms for the alteration of premises at 356 Main.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, Bruce.
Thanks. Good luck.
See you.
Thank you. Take care.
Excellent. Good night.
Good night now. All right, next up on our agenda is an update on Camp Virginia. Ken, you want to come on down?
How are you, Ashley?
How's everything, Ashley?
Ashley, good to see
Good
you.
to see you too. Wow.
Excellent. Okey dokey.
Thanks.
And we wanted to give you an update and highlight some of the things
Oh, we have one more?
that are needed, sure, that are needed at this point. There's still an interest on everybody's part in preserving the place. And the key thing that we're working toward at the moment is to apply for a park grant from the state at the beginning of July. And as noted on here, that could be up to $400,000. It's awarded by the end of the year, and you can get it if you make the purchase within the same calendar year of the application, which means that we would have to have a town meeting vote by the end of the year also.
Not make the purchase, but vote on the purchase.
Right, to vote on the purchase. So we would have to.
Is there a date in which we need to close? I never asked that before.
State's fiscal year, so by June 30, 2018.
And one of the pieces that has to go in with the grant application is an appraisal that the town does. And as luck would have it, they had a program that actually identified and helped us with to provide for small communities up to $3,000 toward the cost of an appraisal, and we were awarded that. And that has to be tied to the state grant. So if we apply for the grant, then they will reimburse us for the $3,000 of the cost. The estimate we have at the moment is for $3,900. And one of the, as we'll note a little later, one of the decisions is when the town goes to actually do the appraisal, how it wants to handle that bidding. But in any case, it will pay for most of that cost. And then actually has also agreed that she would be helping us with, to prepare for the park grant. We spoke with the Girl Scouts the other day, she and I, and they still want to preserve lion too, but they've had, it's kind of, from my point of view as an avid Girl Scout cookie consumer, it's a little ironic, but they had a big sales drop this year in Girl Scout cookies, and as a result, they're hurting financially more than they were before. And so their board now wants to maximize the proceeds from the land, and so they're, even though they're still willing to work with us, they're looking outside, looking at potential private buyers. They'd rather not sell out to development, but they want the money. And so we do have, in a way we have competition, but in a way they want to work with us. But the really important thing we learned in the whole process is that they backed off of a prohibition that they put on us about being able to sell any lots. Because if you recall, when we talked with you in the fall and had Don send a letter to the Girl Scouts, one of the things we said is that our little working group had identified that selling a couple of lots, one maybe on Hudson Road and one maybe in Long Hill or something, could actually pay for maybe as much as half, but anyway, make a substantial contribution to the cost. And they said, oh no, we don't want you to do that. We got in trouble once before for doing that. They're not saying that anymore. So that really changes the economics of the whole thing from our perspective, which is a good thing. So we have competition on the one hand, but we have sort of renewed enthusiasm and possible interest on our end. So the other side of the page then is what we really need at this point.
I'm sorry, could I interrupt for just one
So
second?
please, in fact, if you have any questions.
Under the Girl Scouts update, I think one thing that's important for the board to understand is that the figure that we've been running with up to now, based on conversations that Ashley had with the Girl Scouts, was while they had an appraisal of $1.3 million, that $975,000 would be deemed an acceptable purchase price to them. That's no longer necessarily the case. As Ken notes, the third line under the Girl Scouts update, it says the benchmark is their 2015 appraisal of $1.3 million, assuming 11 house lots. And when you consider the fact that the board, the line above says the board wants to maximize proceeds from the sale, that I don't think we can consider, we can't assume that $975,000 will get us home. You know, they have a fiduciary responsibility to try to maximize the asset. So I think mentally, is it 1.3 million? Well, maybe not if we're the only ones who are expressing an interest. but I don't think we can assume it's $975,000.
No, but I
They did
think,
say that they wouldn't take the first bidder who puts forth a $1.3 million proposal, because they want to balance out the maximization of the process, of the profits with, you know, trying to not have the full property developed. You know, they'd still like to see some of it conservatively. So, they'll be weighing things and really be vetting each bidder, they did say. So,
yeah, and I think the other aspect of it is the other advantage or the use of our town appraisal besides submitting it for the grant is that becomes our benchmark. And so it becomes a basis for talking with them about whatever the number might be. But anyway, so that's kind of the background. What we really need is your endorsement of the grant process. And this is needed for several different reasons. The grant application has to come from the town. In fact, there has to be, as noted on there has to be a town program manager named on there. And so Don and Rebecca talked, and presumably she would be the one who would be named on that. And then the town has to include with it an appraisal, and it also has to include a copy of the open space plan, which will by then be approved. That's now in the final stages. But it has to have your signatures as the executives, and as well as the Conservation Commission. And so before we do any more to prepare for that grant, we really need to know that the selectmen are willing to support that process, and if it comes to that, take it to the town in the fall to do that, to hold that town meeting. And we found in talking to the Conservation Commission, Ashley and I went there at the beginning of the month, and they were supportive of the idea of buying it, but they were hesitant to put forward any money because they had not seen anything official come out of anybody in the town that said, yes, we want to do this. And so they didn't want to take any of the money that they had set aside for land or whatever it might be and spend it if they didn't even know if anybody was supporting it. So we sort of got a message from them that said, hey, the selectmen need to ring in on this and say, I mean, this isn't committing anybody to buy it, because obviously it's the town meeting that commits it, and subsequently the debt exclusion voters that would commit us all. But they seemed interested, and I think we agree with that for the grant application, to know that you guys would be willing to back us on this in doing that.
Nobody wants to put any more resources into preparing for a grant if it's not something that the town wants to pursue. And putting the town's name in the ring as a potential bidder, you know, if that's not something that the town wants to pursue, then obviously we won't spend time continuing down that path.
The commission has the 3,900, and knowing that they'd be getting 3,000 of it back would make them feel even better. Probably they would want to have a transfer or a town meeting vote sometime that gives them that back, since the money would go into the general fund.
We wouldn't need that. Once, I've already discussed that with the town accountant, and
Oh, we go right back to that?
I wanted to make sure that the
Okay.
Conservation Commission didn't get snookered, and they put up the money, and then when we got the grant money back to reimburse us, it went to the general.
All right, I didn't know you'd work that.
So we would be able to do that.
But anyway, so that's kind of, in a nutshell, what we're looking for. And then I guess the question at the bottom of all of this is, if we're going to go for this grant, and if we end up and prepare for a town meeting and stuff, do we want to have an official committee as opposed to the ad hoc working group that we've had before, that your board would support, that could do the work on this and all of that? Or is there a mechanism that our group could work closely with conservation or with you or whoever it is that you would want? But in any case, it's something that I don't think we have a strong feeling about, but it's something that people ought to decide as to whether to have an officially appointed committee or not. We have a group that is probably, in terms of active people, I would say 7 or 8, something in that range. And so they could apply, and, you know, you could handle that however you wanted to, but so but I wanted to put that on the docket for discussion to see what people thought of it and what the pros and cons might be of doing that. But the main thing that we need is really your endorsement of carrying forward with this process so that we know to expend the effort to try to get that grant.
Now, have we ever seen the 2015 appraisal and whatever
We have.
plans there were that
Yes,
came up with a conventional?
yes, we have that.
That was the one that I believe I brought to a selectmen meeting.
I went over, saw
Possible.
some stuff. in it.
Yeah.
There was one that was just a conventional, and there was a sort of a phosphorus kind of thing.
That's
and then
correct.
then there was one that had a road going in.
Right, yeah, the 11 lot it wasn't a full subdivision, it was back in hammerhead lots, sort of shared drives, one coming from Longtown and one coming from
Right.
Hudson. So that was the plan that the appraiser found to be the highest and best use. But, you know, the question all along has been, was that really fully vetted, and is the property too wet to handle that? Is the cell tower issue gonna play into that? So when we spoke with the appraiser that bid for, you know, doing another appraisal, I think she thought it was fairly decent plan, but perhaps a couple lots less would be her assumption.
So if we went forward and we did our own appraisal, then you'd go through and conventional and whatever else you would need to do, road, you know, driveways and that kind of stuff for us to determine the
Right.
supportable number of lots.
She would do that. I don't think the town was going to pursue full land use planning, but she does sort of her own preliminary.
Okay, because we would need that to determine how many lots, which are.
Well, yeah, we would also, since we're assuming 2 lots to spin off,
We would want to, as a minimum, we want to sketch that on.
Yeah.
well, I think we need an engineer or an
Yeah,
appraiser
yeah.
to identify where those lots would
Right.
be.
And that's one of the, I do have on my list of, you know, after tonight, if this, you know, this is sort of looking like we can go forward, I would call her and just ask her about the process and whether she would really need a surveyor to be out there and doing
Right.
something with the 2 lots and, you
Now, there's no plan on record now for this, right?
know, no.
So this is just all meets and bounds description and,
Yes, they did have a plan done by Ducharme Dillis, that's what Ducharme Dillis told Ken, but they never recorded it, and they haven't shared that with us.
but they did an instrument survey
I
of the
believe so.
property?
I believe
At
so.
least the boundaries, yes.
And how many acres is that?
Well, in the appraisal, they had 55.6, I think.
That includes the cell tower portion of it.
Yes, it does.
And how much is that?
It's about a half acre, I
Oh.
think, with an easement going in from the driveway, I believe.
So, but to come up with 11 lots, have they done all the offsets and wetlands and setbacks and
They had land use planning done, and the plans are shown in the appraisal.
compliant with Bolton's?
I would,
Zoning.
I would
It's
assume
near
that
the
they use that. I mean, the appraiser that did the work is very good. John, it's Avery Associates, and
He's done a lot of work here.
I can't imagine them
Done work
having
for the town.
gone through without really reviewing the town bylaws.
So obviously, they believe that they could put a plan on record with 11 lots and list them with what they know already.
Right, I believe so. And I mean, the 11 lot, I think with the shared drives and all, they would need special permits or variances or something along those lines. So they must have been assuming that that they could get them, but.
But we're gonna do our own.
We have to.
We have to do our own,
Right.
right? Because I remember briefly looking at them last year, and
Yeah,
one of them that looked a little.
Yeah, there was, several of our
Yeah.
people have really been skeptical of
Yeah.
1 or 2 of the ones that are either really close to the pond or
Right.
in what's known to be a wetland area. The plans that they have did not have wetlands delineation on it. And we actually got a bid from Ducharme to do that, if we wanted to do it. And we've sort of decided now that we can probably get away without that. But he had said, I think 1,500 for the wetlands delineation portion of it, which might or might not be of some use to us, I think.
But our goal would be to confirm or challenge the number of lot designations which they're representing at this time.
That would be
Right.
one goal, and then the other goal would be to just have a town appraisal that would be submitted along with our application.
I would think that the savvy developer, you know, if that's who we'd be going up against, would know what they could probably get in there. But there's always the chance that they bid high and then as things go along, the price comes down and the lots come down.
Right,
And
so,
then,
but
you know,
they're, I'm sorry to cut you off, but so they're saying their kind of bogey right now is 1.3 million?
That's what they'd like to shoot for, I mean, that's, you know.
And then, so the grant, you have an appraisal grant that's been approved for 3,000. And then you would be moving forward for an application for a grant for 400,000.
Right.
And the other 900,000, where would that ultimately come from? From the town?
And sale of lots, if there were any, and
And fundraising.
potential fundraising.
Okay.
But fundraising, I would assume, I mean, wouldn't want to shoot for more than 100,000 as an estimate for what could be raised.
So,
Private and grant funding.
so if that worked out, 800,000.
But at least for me, I'm not intimidated by the 1.3 because I don't really think they'll get it.
Hasn't been market tested.
And so I'm not, so I wouldn't suggest, for example, walking away because they said, oh, we want to maximize our money. Because I think I don't have on-the-ground experience with this, but it seems to me that being able to get a check from the town for 900, whatever the number would be, in March or whenever it is of 2018 is probably going to be a better deal for them than money strung out over the period of however long it would be while somebody dinkers around with getting things approved with the planning board, getting their perk testing done, deciding the order in which they're going to do the lots. Think how long Century Mill has been at it.
The only-
They've been at it for years, and so if they're cash poor, they're probably gonna want something like 900 sooner than they might be willing to, over a period of years, wait for 1.2 or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that could be, but I would just say that we're in wild, you know, just like the covers come off the real estate.
Well, that's a good point as well, and I thought of that when I put the date on here, that it was almost 2 years ago, because it was May when this was done, so it was 2 years ago, and so you could take exactly that view, that things have gone up enough that it's worth even more now, and that is possible.
And just like we're at 1.8 acres, right, in Bolton, so that's, if we did 1.8 and 11 times, that's like 20 out of 52. That's at 40%, you know, there could be more lots than what they're saying. I think they're being conservative, unless, I don't know anything about the topography of the wetlands or whatever, but,
Yeah, it's fairly
and my only, so if we were to, if we, what would you need a vote tonight? And what would that be, and what does it bind, how does it bind the town?
The only vote that I would be looking for is that you guys endorse continuing with the process of applying for the grant, so that when we do the work to put together the package that gets submitted, and we do the appraisal,
Sign.
then you guys will sign that, and then, and realize that we won't hear about the grant until probably after the town meeting. So we would have to have a town meeting with the vote contingent on getting the grant. And what I would want is to
So-
know that process was gonna go.
So the vote would be that the Board of Selectmen are representing to your group that we would sign off on a grant application for the $400,000, right? That's what the vote would be.
Yes.
Right, and but signing off on the grant assumes that you're sort of saying, yes, we'll
You're
go forward
jumping
with a
in.
town meeting vote. But I think a town meeting vote, as Ken said, could be contingent upon getting the grant, could also be contingent upon Girl Scouts accepting a purchase price of no higher than, you know, X. So, but I think when you go forward with that sort of grant application to the state, you're sort of promising the state that you're gonna have a town meeting vote before the end of the year.
So what you could be, and there's a million things that could happen between now and then. But if we represent that we're gonna sign the grant application, then you're short still about $500,000. And that would be the town meeting, that's what the town meting would vote on.
Presumably, yes.
$500,000.
Right. It might be more, it might be less. I mean, I don't think we know that number. I think at the moment, it's just to continue to give the voters the opportunity to do that.
I just,
Decide whether they want to do it.
so just fleshing it out, I mean, really, you're asking tonight, does the Board of Selectmen back this project? Really, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pursuing the.
Pursuing,
I think that's
pursuing,
a
yes,
straw.
but, pursuing, yes, but not necessarily saying, when it comes down to it, that you would favor the purchase. They're two different things, because there's time in between now and then, which we would all have to determine that either this isn't gonna work. I mean, it might be that we're this far apart from the Girl Scouts when it comes down to it, and that there's no way to get in between.
Or they
but
sell, or
might
they
be
sell
that
it
we could.
before the
Right,
end of the year.
right.
I mean, we have no offer, no P&S sign right
No.
now.
Oh, no,
No,
no.
not at
But
all.
you think that they're gonna keep walking with us and not
Yes.
turn tail and,
I think they're now opening up the possibility to others, but I think if the town came forward with a proposal, you know, that was $975, a little higher, and it was a lot and it was, you know, a better deal in terms of conserving the land than the others, I think they'd be happy with
So
that.
I'm sorry, but one data point from last year that I want to make sure the selectmen have current information. Last year, one of the comments, and I know that the flow, not the flow of information, the message from the Girl Scouts has not always been a consistent one, for instance, the 2 house lots versus not. But one of the things from last year was that the Girl Scouts, I believe, said that they didn't want to have a contingent offer, that the town, last year we were saying that the town would enter into this contingent on us getting the grant.
Right.
And I think the attitude was, if you get the grant, that's great, but we want a deal not contingent on the grant. Are they still holding that
We did
position?
not get that specific.
I don't think they can hold us to that now,
Yeah.
for opening up the
And-
market, which is kind of a bonus, because now the town can sort of move forward on this without being beholden
I
to
mean,
the
I was
Girl
very,
Scouts and just being-
yeah, I was specific, at least in an oblique way with her, by saying that I didn't see any way that the town would be willing to buy it if it didn't get the grant. And it didn't seem to scare her away on that, she still said, but we didn't say exactly what you said, though, so, you know, it's hard to say. I mean,
Well, and the part of that was that they said, well, keep with this 975 number, and we won't put it on the market, but you need to give us a concrete deal, nothing no contingencies like that. But that's not the case anymore, so that's sort of.
so I misspoke,
Mhm.
just for the TV people, because I said 500,000. If we got the $400,000 grant, we'd be short 900,000.
from
Yeah.
their asking,
From their
Depending on
asking.
but it might not
It could
be.
be 900,000
But see, I
or
think-
potentially less.
Right.
But that's what we'd be going at.
We need to tell the
That would
state,
be the highest.
we need to tell the state how
possible.
much we're gonna be spending on it, don't we?
It would be, the appraised value is what the state needs to know, the appraised value that the town gets, and the state gives you 50% up to 400,000 of either the appraised value or the agreed upon price, whichever is lower. So it would,
So this just gives you an opportunity to investigate further, apply for the grant, see if you get it, and
That's correct.
then come back around and make your pitch to town meeting, basically.
Exactly. And by your endorsing it now, what it does is make it a town project. And in a way, it has to be anyway, because as I said, you have to sign the grant, and the town's the one that has to be the appraisal. Because what I would like to avoid is to have a citizen's petition requirement for something like this. I mean, it ought to be the town that's buying it or the town not buying it. And if it's the town that's buying it, then there's work that needs to be done, and we all need to work together to get done. And it may not work.
It just seems a little, I see where I'm not opposed to it, I guess, but it does seem a little unwieldy where there's no P&S, there's no offer, there's no agreement whatsoever.
it's very preliminary.
And so, but on the downside, what are we out? We're out the $3,800, and this is all volunteer time, right?
Right.
Is there any staff time going into this, or?
No, eventually we need to figure out some way to help her, but
No, I fund, well, we usually fundraise for my own costs, and if this doesn't go forward, we sort of like pull it.
And Rebecca's time as the project manager, and
Yeah, Rebecca, I think, is the only staff, well, I'm gone, been involved a little bit.
So from a timing perspective, you need to move forward and apply for the grant sort of now.
I would
You
like to get
can't,
going.
you really can't apply for the grant after the town meeting says, yeah, we want to go ahead. So it has to be done now. And even if we apply for the grant, will we know if we've gotten the grant before town meeting? Or maybe or maybe not?
Probably not, usually the
Okay.
determinations come out early December.
Okay, all right.
yeah.
So really, tonight, to clarify, and I know where you were going, Tom, is what we vote on tonight is just to allow you to continue the process. It doesn't commit the town. The only thing it might commit the town is to spend the $3,900, of which we've already got 3,000. So in essence, it's committing the town to spend $900.
Right.
But there's no commitment to buy the property, there's no commitment to do anything other than to continue the process, because that's,
Right, and it's,
we need the process.
right, and assuming that we're successful in putting together the application and stuff, then we would bring that in, we'd send that in through Don, and that would be signed and gone off, and
Okay.
go from there. So I think that's what we're looking for, and once that's done, then there are a few months to decide whether to sell it to the town, to figure out what the price
Right.
is, and all those things to be worked out.
Right.
And if we're gonna cut off lines, it occurred to me, that we're either gonna have to get some perk testing done and come up with some value on it, if we're gonna lower the price that way, or we're gonna get less for it, because we're not gonna be selling off an engineered lot, we're gonna be selling off just maybe an engineered lot. So
Right.
there's a trade-off that we're gonna have to make at some point about that part of it.
Right. But before I take your question, Bob, I just want, just under full disclosure, I'm actually an abutter to this parcel of land. I can actually see Camp Virginia from my kitchen. But I think relative to what we're talking about here, this is not, whatever vote we take, and if it's affirmative, we're not making any commitment to purchase the property, we're not making any commitment to do anything other than to continue the process. So I believe there's no need for myself to recuse myself at this point in time. But depending upon what happens on May 8th and later on, I may need to recuse myself further down the road when it comes to either voting around the warrant or whatever. But I think at this point, since it's the vote is not making a commitment to do anything other than to spend $900, then I think I'm okay. So I just wanted to get into full disclosure. Bob?
Bob Sikansky, North Road, but I'm confused because I thought I heard at the beginning of the discussion that if the selectmen endorse this, they go ahead and they complete the appraisal and they complete the grant application, but the grant application will not be considered until after the town has committed to buy it, which it must do by the end of this calendar year. Is that not correct?
That's not exactly correct. You submit the grant, and in the process of submitting the grant, what you agree to do is have a town meeting vote during the same calendar year to purchase it, in anticipation of getting the grant. But you don't have to wait until, you don't have to purchase it. You need to have the vote.
You need to have, but you need to have a town, you don't need to close the deal, but you need to have the town agree to put up the money for it.
Well, there have been plenty of, usually the timing works out, but the town meeting vote happens before the grant determination, just because of
Right.
the way the calendar works. But there have been instances in the past where the grant has been awarded contingent on the town meeting vote happening and being successful. So the state can contingently, award that, and wait to hear from the town whether the town meeting vote is successful.
Do the rules say that you have to have a town meeting by the end of this year or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but it's highly unlikely there will be any resolution or awarding of any grants until January or February of next year.
No, they make the determinations in December of this year.
Okay.
It wouldn't be before the town meeting, most likely.
Right.
but it would be before the end of the year.
Okay.
This past year, the awards were on December 8th, the announcements. So, but whether that's plus or minus 2 or 3 weeks, it's hard to know.
Right, and the grant's gonna wind up being 400 grand, I mean, I think.
Right, yeah, it's not gonna be any more than
So
400.
we know what the grant's gonna be, it's gonna be 400 grand.
If you get it.
If we get it. And we'll know by that point in time what the Girl Scouts are asking for, so then we'll know what the delta is that we're asking. You know, if the town wants to buy it, it's gonna cost X dollars. And then the town will vote either to yes, to do that, or no, not. And if they say yes, we move forward. If they say no, then the grant, the money just disappears.
And one of the important things that we would do between now and the town meeting is determine the cost of operating the facility, going forward on a year-by-year basis, so that we would be able to answer the question at the town meeting, what is it gonna cost to continue to own this?
And maintenance and.
Yeah, exactly, maintenance and operation
And is there gonna
tearing
be
down
any
buildings,
21E or
whatever it may be.
environmental, or somebody done any of that? Or will-
As far as we know, there's not an issue there, but part of the purchase is a beach. And so if that became, since the town beach is now leased, if this would become a new town beach and was owned, then that's something that the town would have to take care of going forward, and there would be continued water testing and things involved in that. I mean, there will be costs associated with ownership, there's no question about that. And so we would have that information fully available at the town meeting so that everybody would know what the cost is going to be.
And when we spoke with the state, they did say that if, you know, the town got the grant for the acquisition, you could go back in future years for working on the facility, so developing the park, you know.
And the issuer is Sudbury Valley?
Of the grant?
Yeah.
No, it's the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs at the state.
It's a state grant.
level.
Executive Office of Energy
Environmental.
And Environmental Affairs.
Environmental.
Okay.
And it's the Division of Conservation Services within that. They really do the gamut of
DCR or?
DCS. And it's
DCS.
a little- but they just sort of run all these grant programs that do parks and conservation acquisitions. And
Any other
So
questions?
that's a story.
Any other questions?
No.
Anything from the audience? All right, so what we're gonna be voting on is just to allow these folks to continue with the grant process, and to move ahead with the application and going forward with getting the appraisal. And that's pretty much it for the moment. And then, someone like to make a motion to that effect?
I will. So I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve, what would it be, the cost of the appraisal, acknowledging that $3,000 has already been raised by another grant, unrelated grant, and that we represent that we would execute the grant application for $400,000, but not bind us in it in any other way. To be, all other decisions would be reserved until the future time.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken. Okay. Next up on our agenda is a discussion regarding details of the new cruiser. I believe Jonathan will put this on the agenda.
Ken, do you want to stay for this?
I really can't.
Okay.
I would like to, but I can't.
Chief Nelson, how are you this evening?
Oh, how's everybody doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey.
Yeah, so there are 4 issues that I wanted to talk about related to the new cruiser. One that Ken brought up in advisory, which was kind of the ratio of, SUV vehicles to cruiser vehicles. So he raised that at advisory, like, did this vehicle have to be an SUV? Couldn't it be a cruiser? So there was a discussion about that. The three other issues were exploring about, putting a proposal to buy this on combines. They have, a special section for vehicles, light vehicles like police cruisers. And then the last two are about kind of the paint job and the tinting of the windows, and just trying, I think, what I'm interested in is trying to, I think in terms of tinting, it would be nice to be able to see which officers are on duty, to kind of develop the sense of knowing who's there. I've met and probably know half of your officers, but I think it would be really nice if I could look in the vehicles and see them. So, and I think this is something other departments or police departments are doing. So tinting in the back, row in the back, dark tinting, that's fine, but for the front windows, just laying off the tinting. And then in terms of the paint, I think we've, the last bunch of vehicles have all been kind of black and have had this stealth quality, and I'd just like to see us go to a more traditional, what most towns have, which is a two-tone paint job. The state police have it, a lot of towns have it, and it's just very recognizable, like the police are here, they're moving around, rather than kind of laying in wait for traffic. It just gives, a sense that, we're a nice town, we're like Mayberry, that we don't have to have these dark vehicles kind of just waiting for traffic. So yeah, those were my ideas about that. Have we ever done combines for vehicles?
Not for a police cruiser, no, I don't believe we have. And combines has, I think it's fair to say, a rich assortment of things on there. I don't know what the offerings are for police cruisers, but new police cruisers. For sure there are used ones out there, and I would have to research what's on there for new ones.
So we usually buy ours through, what is the place in Marlboro, is it?
Which dealer is it that we?
MHQ, but we've gone around to different places, Shea Place had a place down in the Cape. We bought 2 cars from, those are the last 2 cars, and they shipped them up to Adams and Norfolk. When we price out the cruisers, it's all state bid pricing. So we're getting pretty much the best price for everything that's put in that car, including the lights. So I don't think you will find any better price from Combine than what you get from the state bid. And we go into the Plymouth County and there's a Boston County state bid that they price out all the parts, all the cruisers, so you can get an admin card, you can everything from a van all the way down to the sedans. So pricing's the lowest price you're going to get on cruisers for that.
Why, how much is the cost of the cruiser?
The cost of the cruiser is,
All in?
well, the total price is $39,945.
And why wouldn't we be mandated to go on combines for 40,000?
Well, if you've got a state bid does all the procurement work up front, so no, you wouldn't have to do that. That's what a state bid contract does. The state does that, so they've done all the research and qualification for you, and they're saying this is, the lowest competitive price.
So in theory, it doesn't really matter where you go, you're gonna be paying the same amount of money. And there aren't that many places that are dealing with, you can't go to a Ford dealer and buy a cruiser. You have to go to a specialized outfit.
They buy in large quantities of these cars. So that's how they can come in at such a low price.
That's what Combines does with most commodities, when you talk about commodities, whether you're talking about paper, whether you're talking about whatever, they leverage the volume to drive the price down.
I mean, I didn't even know what combines was until 2 months ago, but, I mean, looking at, I mean, for $40,000, it seems to me it makes sense to try it and get as many bidders in there as possible. In the not even, well, 2 weeks since we've added the PDF, we've picked up 17 additional plan holders on combines. This is a culvert, it's not, you know, so if you put it out there and you put it under the proper category, you have all the state vendors looking at it. So it could be, you know, I don't know, maybe it would be, but what would be the harm in trying? Like putting the specifications on there, putting a date certain when the bids are due to
No, we can
dawn.
certainly take a look at it, it costs us nothing to do it.
And load up all the stuff, they click on it, open it up, and let them savage each other for the bid.
I certainly can get Don all the information, and if he
Yeah.
wants to put it out there and see what happens, that's fine with me.
As I said, it costs nothing to do it, and
Right.
we'll check it out.
I mean, I feel like that the combines for the culverts, that is the way to go. I mean,
Well, but that's also required, that's a required procurement
Right.
procedure, whereas for this, it's not a required procedure.
right, but why not use technology?
Oh, I agree.
You know, why not give it a whirl?
Mhm.
I can't see any harm there. I do agree with Jonathan to some, how many of the vehicles are, you know, the all dark paint, all of that? Or every single one of them, or?
We have the 4 Ford SUVs, those are all black, with one that has some gray, has a gray hood, that was one of the first cars we had. And then it costs extra money to do that. That's usually why we don't do that, is to paint a car two-tone. You incur more costs, it's thousands of dollars more to have them paint that extra color. So we went from the gray Dodge Chargers, which we still have 2, and 1 black Charger. When we bought the first Ford, the SUV, we put a little bit of gray in it, so we put a gray hood, gray top. I don't recommend that anymore because it does cost more money, and obviously we try to keep this low enough so it doesn't go for $40,000. So I think it's anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 more just to put 2 tones on a car.
So, but the black with the gold paint, how many cars have that?
Just the one. That was the first one after we transitioned from the gray Chargers in the black Chargers to the black SUV. They have black, white, and gray are usually the standard colors. You know, obviously, if the black offends the board, you know, we certainly can look at a white car and do some nice graphics on the side. The tinting on the windows, that's an industry standard. The front windows are a solar tint, and I think I went and I just did the cars this morning just to see what they look like. And the back windows are dark, that's a dark privacy glass, and obviously we do that, but the side windows are not, let me just find my little sheet here. On the Chargers, there was 78. On the front window of a Ford, it was 75. So I have a 10 meter I can put right on it. So that right there is the solar tint that they usually just, it's a small, so 25, there's only 25% is being blocked and everything else. And I did inquire with the dealer, and in his amount of years of buying these cars, and they buy in bulk, and this is the standard of what all those cars come. So 1,000 Cruisers are coming out exactly the same. If we had to buy it with a different tinting, it would, one, cost more money, and also throw off the whole time schedule of getting a car around July 1. Because they have to special order it, and they have to get it into the production of making of the police cruisers package. So I wouldn't get a car until December.
But is 75% darker than what is on a regular?
No, I could probably go out in anybody's regular car. That's a regular solar tinted, so that's the regular.
So that's the front and the 2 side windows.
Yes, the front windshield, I can't do the front windshield, so I don't know what the front one is. I can only do windows that can come down so I can put the meter over. So I don't know what the front windshield is. It's probably about the same. It's got some sort of tinting. So it may be because everything in the back is darker, that front one's gonna be a little bit darker depending on the angle that you look at.
Right, I also did some research. What we're getting is the standard tinting that any other Ford would get from the factory, even if I were to buy it. So there's no additional tinting that's being done on those cars.
Right.
So
even-
on the whole fleet, there's no additional tinting, it's all 75%.
The Dodge Charger's 78, so it's relatively close to that. The only one that's off is a car that we got in a trade for a radar trailer, is the Ford 500. That's the white car that detectives, a little undercover. Those windows are a little bit darker so that if we have to do some surveillance work, we don't want people seeing who's in the car. Let's see. Color, again, color is
So now you have,
subjective.
most of them are black, and then what do you have to identify, like Bolton Police on it?
Oh, we have the graphics along the side, on the back.
In what color?
It's a gray color, so
Okay.
it's a shaded black. And
So,
that can-
yeah, I think it would be nicer if there's more kind of contrast, like, what I've noticed is that this, like the gold and the black, it's very hard to kind of read. So it'd be nice if it's, there's more contrast between.
If you're looking for a different color of graphics, all day long, they've got every color in the book. They could do all kinds of designs. All we have to do is just have somebody creative to go down and talk to the guy at MHQ that does the graphics. You tell them what you want.
I think the charger that's used by the EMS folks, there's some green in there.
They've got green, orange,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of different colors, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd just be good to look at, I mean, some towns have like, I don't know, the insignia, whatever, the round thing, but just getting, Bolton Police, those types of things, and, if you have black cars and white.
We've got the badge on the side.
Right.
So they blew up the badge. That's gray, and I think it might have a little bit of blue in it. But certainly, yeah, we could look at all kinds of options. Are you still good with the black?
I'm fine with that. I'm not sure what the problem we're trying to solve here, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I just think like the black with the gold is really very subtle, it barely even reads. So I think it's nice to say, this is the Bolton Police Department, and not try and kind of make it too, it looks nice, it's very slick, but I think graphically you should pronounce who you are, and I think that's great for everybody. So the 39,000, that's for the that's for the Ford Explorer.
Yes.
So what Ken was bringing up was, so we have four of the Ford Explorers out of what is it, 8 cars? So just kind of the balance, does this car have to be an SUV? Can it be a cruiser is, the question. And I think the cruiser, the cruisers, so could it be a cruiser?
It can be whatever you want, but what we have to look at is we've got 4 now that we're trying to keep all the same. And as we move forward, we want to keep all the cars exactly the same. So that when you get in, you got the same light switch, you got the same place where the guns are, and so forth. The only issue with the sedan is it's too small. Anybody that has one of these cars complains constantly that anybody that's taller than 6 feet tall can't get in the car. And just everything's crammed in, so we need a little bit more space, which the SUV gives us, so we can put all our equipment in the middle there, the computer, the coffee cup holders, the scanners, the radios, everything that's in there, the radar, plus all the equipment that goes in the back.
What's the difference in price between the
I think it's like $1,000 to $1,500. So, and the height of the SUV is gonna be higher. Car 8, which is the all-wheel drive Dodge Charger, is anything more than 2 or 3 inches, it's scraping the ground. So that's what we're trying to do, is get up, off, so if we have to go over a curb, if we have to go off-road, or in the snow, I've got a vehicle that I can use. I'm not gonna guarantee the sedan is gonna be able to get through the same kind of snowstorm that the all-wheel drive SUV is gonna be able to.
But you said in the past you wanted to go, you wanted to go to an all SUV fleet for the very reasons you've discussed here, and that there's uniformity.
Exactly. Once I get enough SUVs, every year, so once I get this new SUV, if it all goes well, one of the Dodges, car 5, that's the oldest one, that I just sent Dawn a message that the frame is completely rotted out. So I had to sideline that car because it just got attacked by the salt and the years of service. And it has 133,000 miles on it, but it's no longer safe to be out there. It's a pursuit-rated car. The whole frame would just fold up like a taco.
Great, so I guess, I think I think trying the combines for this would be, we learn something from that and hopefully save some money. And then, I think if your team can work on, a paint scheme, we'll look at that.
Graphics, right?
Yeah, the graphics.
Certainly, if I could have brought a book with 1,000 different graphics that, and you show, they do, across the country, you send in your photo, and there's people that'll choose which is the best scheme. All kinds of schemes you can make out there.
Maybe we can come back in a meeting or two and make some suggestions.
We may be a little more time, but yeah, we'll see.
Sure, so if I hear what the board's saying, we'll stick with the SUV, we'll definitely pursue combines. The chief is gonna come back at some point with some suggested color schemes.
When are you supposed to take delivery, July 1?
Yes, July 1 is usually when we try it, but we never do. It's depending on their schedule and when all the equipment gets in, and then we fit it to the schedule. So anywhere between July and August.
We have the ability to procure the day after town meeting. It's not tied to the fiscal year. Once the money's appropriated at town meeting, because it's on, no, actually I'm wrong, because it's part of the budget, it's not an article. Since it's part of the budget, we can't do it until July 1 FY18. If it were an article, we could spend it the next day, but we don't do the cruisers via articles anymore. We have it right in the budget.
I try to get the ball rolling like anybody else does, is a letter of intent to the vendor and say, I want delivery on July 1 or in that vicinity. And then they start lining up all the items.
So, but just for the combines thing, you're gonna need some kind of rough detail.
Yeah, well, they don't express
Color,
and all that, that's right.
yeah, size, whatever, right, make, model, okay.
All set, yeah. We've already got a quote for our Ford and all the options.
Okay. All right, I think we're done with that, but don't go away. Next up on our agenda is recommendation by Chief Nelson to appoint the second sergeant.
Thank you again for allowing me to come back and recommend an officer. We did another test. I put out the announcement and was able to get 3 candidates in the department that wanted to go for the sergeant's position. That was Jonathan Kuchar, Will Warnken, and Walter Nader. So following that test, the person that came out at the top was Jonathan. That was a written test and also a scenario-based interview right after the test. So Wayne Sampson, who runs the public safety consultants, did all the testing in one day and sent me the results. So following that, that's where I put all 3 names on the list, so you know who was there taking the test. And obviously, let you know who my recommendation was again, that we wanted to put forward Jonathan to see how that went with the board.
So Don, you mentioned that we could, I think you mentioned we could request to, meet with some of the candidates.
No, that's certainly an option. We wanted to do this in stages. So the purpose of tonight was to make you aware of what's before you,
Okay.
and then you can follow whatever course that you choose.
So my vote on Officer Kuchar is not going to change. But I did look at Officer Warnken, who seems like, he seems, for the shortness he's been here, he seems to have posted up very strong numbers in comparison, given that he's been here too. He's, based upon this, just the raw numbers, he seems very promising for that job.
He does. In civil service, any type of promotion, they usually like to have you at least 1 year of employment in the civil service setup. So you don't actually have to be in Hudson for 1 year. You could have been in Framingham, come over and got into the promotion. So basically, that's what I looked at when I put this out, that as long as you had some police experience, you could take the test. And Walter had that experience.
He seems to be,
Walter,
okay.
Walter, not with us, but with the other agency he worked with. He was with UMass Lowell in Boston for, I think, almost 10 years. So he had previous police experience, so that's why he jumped into this. So that's why Walter's there too. Will, a military background, which he's, I'm not sure if anybody knew that, he is a lieutenant in the Army Reserves. So he actually has a ton of leadership experience, to his credit. And I think he's managing 150 people in that organization that he does. So I don't know if I made enough copies, but I did. If I don't have enough copies, we'll circulate that around. Will just wrote up a quick bio of what he's doing in the military right now. So Will is a viable candidate. Again, same with Jonathan. I have to just keep pushing that forward because he's been with us for 6 years, and he's done very well with the organization. Will also very well with the organization, as well as Walter. No issues. Everybody's a great employee, and everybody wants to push forward and make the department a better department.
What is there something stopping us from making a motion in support of Officer Warnken tonight?
Oh, no, that's
No,
totally
no,
different.
that's-
Actually, no, there isn't, but the thing is, the thing that I have a problem with, Mr. Crane, is you've never explained to anyone what these supposed issues are.
They're not supposed issues.
Excuse me, I know exactly what the two issues are, and I was present at one of them. Okay, so, I know exactly what the issues are. But you've never publicly stated what those issues are. And I think, what is occurring here is a great disservice to a town employee and an officer who's done a very good job working in this town. And there's a difference between, some personal issue or not, or something that may have been blown completely out of proportion. And I think it's very unfair to that officer that, you seem to have taken the position that you've taken. You haven't divulged publicly what those issues are, and I think you should. Because we're affecting a person's career here. And I'm going to say it again, I know Officer Kuchar, because I've been, working as a selectman and working with both Chief Nelson and Chief Alfano. I have absolutely no issue or problem with Officer Kuchar. And the fact that Officer Kuchar has tested number one twice now. He should have the ability to take the position based upon the fact that that's the recommendation by Chief Nelson. And shouldn't be stymied because of something that you have a problem with that you haven't divulged to the public. And I think it's important that you do that, and if you can't, then perhaps you should recuse yourself from the vote, perhaps. Because you may be making an uninformed or misinformed decision. And I find it very troubling that we continue to go down this path, considering I know exactly what your issues are with the gentleman. But it's not my place to say that. You should be the one saying that, not me.
I mean, I think there are other issues, and, you know, I think it's unfortunate that you have to make it so personal in terms of, you know, your comments to Tom. This is our third bat at this, and we'd like to get it resolved. You'd like to get a sergeant. I think there are some issues, more than, and, you know, I've definitely heard about them from, you know, I've had 2 phone calls related to this, so, with concerns, so.
Well, actually, now all of a sudden, just so we can play back the history here. When we had a meeting previously, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief and Mr. Lowe, you raised issues that you had with Officer Kuchar, and at that time you didn't divulge what those issues are. I distinctly remember, and we can certainly go back and watch the video, your issues were not with the officer, but with the position. You clearly stated that you had an issue as far as the budget, and you were considering.
I'm talking about phone calls that I've received.
Excuse me.
I think we should move
Excuse
to a
me.
vote.
I have the floor, and please let me speak. That your issues with the second sergeant were purely budgetary. And we shelved the conversation. We had a subsequent meeting where we discussed the position. And I do recall that there was a vote. I asked for a vote to affirm that the second sergeant position was a position that we wanted to maintain and keep. And I believe we voted 3-0 in keeping that position. At no time, either in the first meeting or in the second meeting, that you raised any questions or issues relative to the individual. Your questions and issues were relative to the position and the budget. Now all of a sudden, I'm hearing that the both of you have so-called issues with the candidate, but so far, I don't think I've heard, and I don't think the chief has heard, and I don't think our administrator has heard, and I don't think the public has heard what those supposed issues are. And I'm not done. And this is not, you know, a decision of whether we're going to buy, you know, a piece of capital equipment or not. This is about talking about a person. This is talking about a person and their career. And for us to be sitting here and saying, oh, you know, I have issues, or I've had phone calls and issues. We've had this before where we've heard that, you know, you've talked to people or you've had phone calls about something, but we never understand what the issues are. We never understand who the individuals are. No one else ever gets any phone calls or emails relative to what potential issues there are. So, you know, it's almost like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I can remember my son when he was 5 years old, and I asked him, well, why did you do that? And it was because. Or some answer like that where you know, they respond, but you don't get an answer out of it. You don't know the root cause. And I think this is very serious stuff. And as I said before, you know, we're dealing with a person's career. And as far as my perspective, knowing that individual longer than in his capacity as an officer than you two gentlemen, in the position that we're all sitting in, I don't see that there's any issue with the gentleman. I think he should have a fair shot to get the job. And if you have issues with the individual, I don't know if we've ever discussed that with either me or the chief or our administrator Don Lowe.
And I have talked about it with Don, and in December of 2015, it was at Don's suggestion, quote unquote, I'm gonna nip this in the bud. My understanding is he talked to the chief. The officer, you know, I don't think, to be honest with you, I'll go forward and say my side of it. I don't see how we're helping the officer at all. I don't. I mean, people get passed over for promotions all the time. I think we're making more out of it than it is. We have the right to vote. I don't think you're gonna help him by airing this, but if that's what you want, I will. In an oblique way, in an opaque way. I will say that I absolutely talked to Don shortly after the December 17 meeting. And Don followed up. My understanding is the officer sought the protection of the union. The union declined to represent him or back him on this. I subsequently did put this in writing to Chief Nelson as part of, in April of 2016. So this is not a mystery what's out there. It is not personal to me. It is personal to me as a selectman. We have a second qualified individual. We just heard, you know, I think we should move forward, in my opinion, I think we should move forward on a vote on Officer Warnke.
I agree.
I just don't think you're doing the officer any service at all. I don't.
Yeah, it does feel very political. This is like the third time to bat. And each time this is just a repeat. It's very unpleasant. I don't know why it keeps happening. I thought we were going to try and move forward in a positive way with this meeting. So it just feels like
I would agree.
the
This is
issue
the third
keeps
time.
getting forced.
But on my side, I can't discriminate and say you can't take the test and you can. I have to, you know,
And you
look at it
presented us
objectively.
with 3 people today,
Yes.
and so let's move forward on the vote and get you your second sergeant.
I'm not sure if I ever got your letter. I don't recall getting a letter.
I have the PDF of that, I can.
I'll have to look for that. I don't recall getting that. And
That's not a
as
letter.
far as I know and remember, there was
It's writing,
no,
though.
there was no disciplinary action, so the union would not get involved in any of this.
That's what
So-
was reported to me.
It wouldn't have happened that way because the disciplinary action would have had to been involved for the union to get involved within.
That's what was reported to me.
Okay, so it's just a little bit different than how I remember that. You know, obviously Jonathan is still my number one person, okay? Regardless of what we have here, he's tested well, he's done well for us. You know, it's unfortunate that you've had some slight encounters that
They're not slight to me, Chief Nelson.
No, I understand, they're not.
No, they're not slight to me, and they shouldn't be minimized by anyone. You take the person as you find them. They were 2 unpleasant experiences, and while I was serving as a selectman, not personally, but this is the 3rd time, and, you know, I don't know what the point is anymore. I'm willing to, you know, we have 3 people, we had the data, I reviewed the information, you know, if we want to go down, and I just don't think that's in anyone's interest.
No, I understand that, and it's a major issue for you. But we also have to look at, as Stan said, this is a person's career that we're on the fence.
And it's going to be made worse if we go further, in my opinion.
No, I understand,
But I'm
but
trying to, believe it or not, I'm trying to help here. So,
okay. All I can say is that, you know, when you have somebody, or even in civil service, if you don't want somebody in a position, you have to articulate why you don't want that person, okay? I don't think that's what we've heard, you know, you just said no
then
to it.
I'll come out of it, and I'll put it on the record. I had 2 very unpleasant instances with Officer Kuchar. One was at the Veterans Day brunch shortly after being elected. He came up, invaded my personal space. I don't know him. He did not introduce himself, and he said, "Why the suit?" So I had come from work, I'm volunteering, I worked for myself. And you were actually standing right next to us. And, you know, it seemed inappropriate to me, but, you know, I let that go. I would not be here, word for that. When we were on December, I believe it was December 17, 2015, when we were discussing whether or not to do an open search for the chief of police or to hire you, it suddenly became apparent to me that Officer Kuchar was at the back of the room. This was over in the town hall, and he was glaring at me, and he was red-faced. He was in uniform, you know, and I didn't know why an officer I don't know, I'm sitting at a selectmen's meeting, is glaring at me. And it would only occur during the course of the conversation. You know, to the best of my knowledge, he's not a town resident. Why is he at a selectmen's meeting? And it was because of the open search. I did not appreciate it. I am very respectful to police officers. I did criminal defense work almost every day for 7 years. I'm no stranger to the criminal justice system, but I did not appreciate that. It was very inappropriate. I'm a selectman. I'm his boss, eventually. I didn't appreciate what he did. I hemmed and hawed about it, and to be honest, there was another incident having nothing to do with Officer Kuchar. In between Veterans Day and October 17, I was down at after a selectmen's meeting, I believe, and all of this was reported to Don, so I assume all of this was reported to you at the time. And that,
With Officer Kuchar?
yes,
Okay.
and I was
I think I
at,
got the third one.
well, the third one was that I went into the country cupboard to get milk for my family. There was an officer in there. There was no one else in the parking lot. I left, and I noticed the officer kind of hot-footing it out afterwards. And I've done a million criminal cases, not a million, but I've done a lot of criminal cases. I had the distinct impression that he was running up and running my plate behind me. Now, I hemmed and hawed on this. This is not something, I didn't need this. I was just elected, but that was very disturbing to me, these three incidents. And I reported it to Don. He said, I'll nip it in the bud. He reported to me that he didn't know why Officer Kuchar was there. Officer Kuchar's glaring at me, and his conduct towards me was very inappropriate. I'm not voting for him. I did put this in writing to you as part of your performance review. I hand wrote it. I have a PDF of it. I got nothing back. I'm a selectman. I get $300 a year. I don't need to be harassed, especially not by the police, and I resent it. I would never have put this on the record. I sought not to put it on the record. There's another, what came up at the last selectmen's meeting on this issue was that there's something else out there on Officer Kuchar on the internet, and there is. So I don't know how this serves Officer Kuchar at all. It doesn't serve the town of Bolton. Being respectful of you, but direct, I don't know why we're here on time number 3.
I explained why we're here on number 3.
Well,
I
know,
can't
but
just,
you're
I
pushing
can't
it.
pick. You're getting mad at me for some reason.
I'm not
I don't know why I'm
getting
getting mad, but we're talking about it, and this is a discussion. I cannot discriminate.
And I've
and
said 3
pick.
times I'm ready to vote.
I'm just, talking about it. This is a discussion, but that is ultimately your decision on where you want to go with it. I'm just still throwing it out that Jonathan was still my pick. It may not be your pick, but I gotta at least throw it out there.
You've thrown it out there 3 times.
Yeah. I have to. He's the number one person.
And
What, I don't understand why that would be hard to understand, because you're getting mad at me, and I don't know why you're getting mad at me.
It'd just be nice for you to give us an overview of all 3 candidates, let us discuss it and vote, without putting like a finger on it. So, I'd like to make an motion to appoint William Warren.
Excuse me, there are questions.
Hi, Tommy Gilbert from Main Street. Mr. Friend, I just want to let you know, I do think it was important that you put that on the record. And the only reason is I think being a townsperson and talking to people assume the worst. And so I've never met Officer Kuchar. I don't know anything about him. But I was really thinking much more serious conduct than what you're describing. And I understand what you're describing is important to you and you were slighted by it. But I just want to let you know, I do think it was important to get that on the record because, again, people's imaginations were going. And I thought that the conduct was much more serious than what you're describing, frankly. I'm just glad to hear that that's what it was, and I understand now. But I do think, you say you may not have done a good thing by putting that on the record. Why was it necessary? I think it was very necessary. So I just want to commend you for that. At least I understand where you're coming from. Whether I agree with it or not important, but I understand. And the only thing I'd ask Mr. Keith is, the only thing hanging out there now are the 2 phone calls. So in the era of transparency, I just ask you to share that with us, and then we're all on the record.
I mean,
moving forward.
yeah, there are 2 phone calls related to, what's on the internet, concerns about what's on the internet. We're not really supposed to be talking about that. So, it's really hard up here. We can't just say everything. Once you become selectmen, we get cautioned a lot. So, but that I think puts you in the picture. So taking Tom's experiences with what's on the internet, it all, it comes together, and that's the issue for me.
Mr. Love.
Craig Lauer, 1021 Main Street. I was originally going to say I agree with you, Stan, that there needs to be more information, but that's been satisfied. I was concerned about the phone calls, who they might have been from. I assume they're with some other towns. I won't go over
No, local residents calling to say they're concerned about this proposed appointment, and based on their reading of background material.
But I might ask if you went back to the original source of whatever was read by a resident, because a resident can read whatever's on the internet and then read it to you, and you heard it from a resident. I'm not saying
No,
they're wrong or right, but
I've read the documents, and so they're.
all right. And the other points are already covered.
Hi, Mary Kate McGilvray from Main Street. The one thing I want to add to this whole thing, I have a lot of experience as a former government employee, but it seems like there's a very standardized process for a promotional system. And as a government employee, you know what you have to accomplish in order to get a promotion. And when you're passed over for a promotion, then there needs to be succinct and concrete reasons stated why you're passed over. Or perhaps you'll have some avenue of recourse. And so I just want to make sure that the board knows that it seems like this passing over of Officer Couture, who I don't know anything about him, but it seems like it's arbitrary. It doesn't seem like it's based on data from a test that he took or from an independent assessor who maybe assessed the qualifications of these staff members. It seems like it's personal and arbitrary, and I don't necessarily think that that's what the town would want, and it seems like it could open up the town to liability, and that concerns me.
Matt Boston at Laurel Road. I'd like to speak to 2 points. The first being, I work personally with all 3 gentlemen on that list, and I feel very confident in all their abilities. All 3 of them I feel extremely safe working with, and if there's no one than Chief Nelson's officers I want responding to my house if there's ever something wrong and my loved ones are inside that house. The second item is that I trust Chief Nelson, and I think that questioning him on this, like the previous speaker said, is something that concerns me. Chief Nelson has much more law enforcement experience than everyone else in the room combined. And to the light of the documents on the internet, which anyone with a smartphone can access, I trust his ability to have read that and made an assessment. And I believe that I think it sends a message when people don't trust who we've tasked with, and who, from my personal experience, day in and day out in highly stressful situations, I think all of these gentlemen, all 4 of them, the 3 officers in question and the chief, all do a phenomenal job on a daily basis. And I encourage the board to listen to the chief and the data presented to them.
Yes, I'll take one last one.
Just one last point. I was involved in the promotional process with the police department for over 20 years. We had a very good process, very objective process. You take an exam, you do your interview, the list comes out, and if you're passed over, it's for a very serious incident, a crime or something. In no way, during your career, if you cross someone within the department, that doesn't come back to haunt you. It's done very objectively, and which is good for morale of the department. You know when that list comes out, if you're the top candidate, you're gonna get the job, and that's very important for morale. And just to back the last speaker's comment with Chief Nelson, Bill Parcells had a saying, if you're gonna ask me to bake the cake, let me choose the ingredients. And the chief has asked for Couture to be this nominee. And I do think that if you're asking him to select his supervisory people, there's only a couple on the department, I think a lieutenant and 2 sergeants. These are the people that have to back him up in his decisions and implementing his policies. Let the chief make the pick, let him choose the ingredients, and let him bake the cake. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've had enough as far as discussion is concerned. Based upon the discussion and my 2 colleagues, it doesn't appear that we will have sufficient votes to promote or recommend promoting Mr. Kuchar to sergeant. So in absence of that, I will, well, actually, we may not have, but let's just have it in the record. I'll make a motion that we take Chief Nelson's recommendation of Jonathan Kuchar and promote him to sergeant, and I'll entertain a second. Linda, please for the record that my motion was not seconded. Then I will let one of you gentlemen make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint William Morgan to the 2nd sergeant position.
Second.
Any further discussion? Since we need a sergeant, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Administrator, have any report to give us?
Pretty brief report tonight. First of all, I attended the most recent Minuteman Building Committee meeting and sat through what was an extremely interesting virtual tour of the proposed building. Still all coming together. We don't have all the details in place yet, but just to have the architect there actually walking us through the building virtually, through the renderings that they had. It's going to be a very impressive building when all is said and done. I'm very excited about it and happy to be a part of it. Also, there's been weeks of presentations with both the Lincoln Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, and next week I believe we go in for the last set of discussions with both boards, and then they will have, I think it's the same as us as far as the amount of time they have to do their report out. So we'll have the final report out from both the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission from Lincoln in a few weeks, and then that's when we'll know what kind of timeline that we're looking at to get to move forward. I'm astonished at the type of fees that we could be looking at to build this building as far as permitting and inspection and all that goes, but it is, a major building, so it is what it is. We actually budgeted $1,150,000 for fees and inspections and that type of thing. And I don't think we're going to go to that level, but
1 million out of.
The entire project is 144
Right,
million,
144.
900,000, I think, or 500,000, give or take a couple $100,000. So 144 and change, and it's moving along very well. We did not discuss, whether we think we can still do FY19 versus FY20 because it's speculation until we get a little further along. But I think we've got, we seem to think we've got a shot at getting things ready for September of FY19. Of course, we also don't have a shovel in the ground yet, but the planning side is working quite well. The other thing is last Friday at 11 a.m. in Clinton District Court, The appeal of the dangerous dog designation was heard by the clerk magistrate. We had our attorney present, as well as myself, our animal control officer, and several of the people that were here who testified, as one of them being the person who was actually bitten. And Stan was there as the chair of the proceedings to explain, if necessary, to the magistrate the procedures that were followed and so forth. The only person who testified on our behalf was our animal control officer, Susan Latham, who gave a very good account of what had happened and what her recommendations had been to the board. The other party, the dog owners were there. They did not bring counsel with them. They operated on their own. We submitted a stack of exhibits, probably this thick, without exaggerating, and a very comprehensive presentation. We did not have any of the other witnesses or Stan testify because the other party pretty much stipulated to what they were going to say. So there was no really dispute of facts. In fact, I think the main thing that the other party was looking for, at least what they stated, was they were hoping there was a way to have the dangerous dog designation revisited in about a year or so, which we had discussed at the hearing, and there is no mechanism for that. Now, the magistrate did opine that there's nothing in the statute that prohibits such a thing. But there's nothing that said, there's also nothing in the statute that says the selectmen need to entertain such a request either. Now, he said that verbally. He said his decision would be rendered within 2 weeks. So it'll be 1 week tomorrow. So by this time next week, we expect to receive the decision from the magistrate. The hearing lasted, I would say, about an hour. It was very well done, covered a lot of ground, and I would say that our attorney did an excellent job representing us.
And who was that?
Jessica Murphy from Miracle Call. She specializes in dog cases, so that's why Bob appointed her to this. And she was very, very good. So, and unless the board has any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. All right, Board of Selectmen business request. First up is request to proclaim the month of May as Senior Appreciation Month. Mary, come on down. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
Hello, Mary.
No.
I'll stand and shake your hand.
So we're here to promote Senior Appreciation Month, which is coming up in May. And this is the 9th year that Friends of Bolton Seniors, in sponsorship with the Board of Selectmen, Council on Aging, and other Bolton organizations, come together and, pay tribute to our seniors. So I've got the proclamation here that we ask you to sign every year, and we posted at the Senior Center for the month of May. And the theme this year is Age Out Loud, which is giving aging a new voice, which is letting seniors, say what they want to say. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to read the proclamation and then you can sign it. So, Town of Bolton, by the Board of Selectmen, Senior Appreciation Month, May 2017, a proclamation, Age Out Loud. Whereas the Town of Bolton includes older Americans who richly contribute to our community, and whereas we acknowledge that what it means to age has changed for the better. Whereas the Town of Bolton is committed to supporting older adults as they take charge of their health, explore new opportunities and activities, and focus on independence. And whereas the Town of Bolton can provide opportunities to enrich the lives of individuals of all ages by involving older adults in the redefinition of aging in our community, promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, encouraging older adults to speak up for themselves and others, and providing opportunities for older adults to share their experiences. Now, therefore, the Board of Selectmen of Bolton, Massachusetts do hereby proclaim May 2017 to be Senior Appreciation Month. We urge every resident to take time during this month to acknowledge older adults and the people who serve them as influential and vital parts of our community. In official recognition, we affix our signatures this 27th day of April 2017, Board of Selectmen. there we go.
Take a motion to proclaim the month of May as Senior Appreciation Month.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anything special planned for the
Oh,
month?
we have month-long activities starting on Monday, May Day, with baskets made with Linda's help by second graders at Lawrence Sawyer School. And they will go out to seniors aged 85 and older.
Great.
Mary, will the banner be going up on Monday?
I'm sorry?
Will the banner be going up on Monday?
I'm gonna try this weekend. And I will
Close enough to May?
work around the sawhorses.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you're here as, are you on the Council on Aging?
No, Friends of Bolton Seniors.
Friends of Bolton.
Usually, normally Terry Dowling comes before the board. She and I were co-presidents, but Terry and her husband Chuck are now exploring beaches on the Cape. And so now I'm the president of FOX. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we have a request from Patrice Tedisco to hold a concert on the town common on June 29, 2017. And,
Patrice is not here, but I
Okay.
think we have some.
how are you? What's up?
Tim Casson.
Tom Frame.
Tim Donroy.
So I'm on the board of Freedom's Way National Heritage Area, of which Patrice Tedisco is our executive director. And we are, if you're not, are you familiar with the organization?
No.
So Freedom's Way is a congressionally chartered national heritage area, which Bolton is a part, and we have a partnership with Minuteman National Historical Park. We have a program which is actually starting in May called Hidden Treasures, where we partner with a number of the area communities. And so I did bring for the select a little postcard about it. And we are partnering with the Bolton Historical Society for a display in the library of the 1831 map of Bolton. The specific reason I'm here, another project we're working on, is we are attempting to, as part of a commemoration of Henry David Thoreau's birthday, this is the 200th anniversary of his birth, we are going to be replicating a walk that he went on from Concord to the top of Mount Wachusett in his second published essay. And so we are in the process of attempting to create a trail that would link Walden Pond with the top of Mount Wachusett. And so we are going to be conducting this walk in late June, early July. We will be crossing Bolton on June 29th. And that evening, we're hoping to have a free public concert with a group called the Massachusetts Walking Tour. And this would be held hopefully in the new Bolton Common.
Nice.
Sounds great.
And
Yeah.
so that's the request.
Very cool.
I guess along with that, if they need a detail or they should be talking with the chief and stuff like that.
But the chief is already aware of this, is he not?
I've actually talked, I don't know if we met in person, but was connected by phone, and I did, I'm forgetting the name of the woman from.
Patrice.
Oh, Patrice.
Yeah.
And so I've been connecting with Meg O'Leary, I've been connecting with her, talking to her about the detailed requirements and things like that. So.
Excellent, excellent, super. I think it's a great idea.
Wonderful.
Take a motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
interesting. I'll be there.
Next up, I have a request from the Conservation Trust to install a permanent street sign for the town common driveway. Meg?
Hello.
How are you
Nice to
today?
see you. I don't need your walk. No, thank you. So we actually are looking to put up, you all got this in advance.
Mhm.
We're actually looking to install this street sign about 15 feet back on the side of the common closest to the Druids property.
Right.
It's actually named for one of our generous donors. And so I'm just looking for your approval.
Now, will this be, is it roughly approximately the same size as the regular Bolton Street sign?
It is, yeah, we actually got the dimensions from
Okay.
DPW.
Cool. I'm fine with it.
Me too.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve.
can make a motion to approve the Winslow Greenway sign for the Bolton Common.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Great,
Good to
thank
see
you, Nick. You'll be good.
Thank you, I'll try. It's not easy these days.
I know, tell me about it.
Thank you.
Request from next up is a request from Friends of Persons Park to access the Persons Park Cottage for a portion of their meeting on Saturday, April 29, 2017. Martha, how are you? Come on,
Hello,
Sam.
Mark.
Gentlemen, I come before you as a senior citizen.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you all. According to the bylaws of Friends of Persons Park, we have to hold an annual meeting, and so we have designated in our bylaws April as the time that the annual meeting is held. And we scheduled it pretty close to May, hoping that it would be warm. And it's going to be an outdoor meeting, and I'm the treasurer of that particular group. We thought that it would be nice to have several of the panels for vandalism on the cottage removed so that we could show the attendees who have not seen inside the cottage what it looks like, and have some of the photographs that were taken back when Bolton Conservation Trust and Parks and Rec met there, how nice it looked inside, just for their information. So the meeting is scheduled at 11 a.m. We don't expect it to last a long time. And prior to any approval that you people would give, because it would have to be selectmen approval, I spoke with town administrator and with Director Brown about having an employee have the overtime to come and open up those panels and then reclose them, because we didn't think we could come in with our own little DeWalt things and do that.
You're probably right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm here to ask, is permission to have an overtime person from DPW be there to have it open at 11, and probably it would be closed before the end of the meeting. They'll be there closing it while we're conducting the rest.
Sure.
And the weather's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, that's what
It's been very nice.
Anyone is invited, even though they don't happen to be a member of Friends of Persons Park. There
Sure.
will be humble refreshments.
No,
And
that's
we'll
fine.
get someone down there, we do have someone to do it, we'll get someone down there, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so before the start of the meeting.
Right, we'll be there starting at like 9 a.m.
We'll get some, what time, well,
I think he said it might be Ron Gillespie.
yeah, it's either gonna be Ron or Don Baum, one or the other.
Okay.
And so, well, let me ask you this, what time would you like to have someone down there to make sure that everything's removed in time?
Well, I have a rehearsal at 1 in Wellesley Hills, so I'm thinking I won't be there much after 12:15. Our Vice President, Ron Abalco, will be there. But,
No, I think,
No, I mean to get everything removed.
what time do you
so
want
it's
them
ready.
down?
well, we start at 11, so it would be nice, you know, when, I don't think it'll take more than 15 minutes. They can just set the panels over to the side.
I'll ask that somebody be there by 10:30.
Yeah, that would be fine.
All right.
And then they wouldn't have to be observed while they're doing the removal.
Okay, sounds good to me, so I'm gonna make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve overtime related to Friends of Person Park event on Saturday, April 29, 2017. DPW staff.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much,
Thank
John.
you.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
that
supposed
was
to be like
good.
70 or 80 degrees on.
Yes, you don't want to linger until 2.
I'll be laboring on the golf course at that point.
Just be careful, have that big umbrella with you.
All
Thank
right,
you again.
thank you. Next up on the list here, in terms of what we need to do, is vote to approve the bills and payroll warrants, which were, I assume these were all previously signed.
They were,
With
except
the
for this
exception-
one, with the exception of that one there, right?
All right, so the warrants in question are W17-19 and W17-19A, 1720 and 1720A, 1721 and 1721A, and 1722 and 1722A. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And do we have any minutes?
We do. Yeah, they are right there. Sorry, I didn't make
So
your
are
little
these
note.
individual ones?
Yes, they
So
are,
we can
July
all read?
14th, November 3rd and December 1st. And you have all
All right, well,
reviewed them,
okay,
so it's just
great.
for signature.
So I'll take a motion that we approve the minutes for the regular session minutes for July 14th, 2016, the regular session minutes for November 3rd, 2016, and the regular session minutes for December 1st, 2016.
Move that.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Okay, there. Yeah, I have to get on those two emails that you just sent me this week.
We'll be out of 2016 before you know it.
There you go, zooming ahead.
Quick as lightning.
Okay, if there is no other business, I'll wait till Jonathan finishes. If there's no other business that we need to deal with, I'll take a motion to approve, to adjourn.
I'll move that.
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, you can shut us down now.